Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about today the differences between a hospital setting and a clinic setting. I wanted to make this video for a little bit now, but I didn't feel like I felt like I didn't have enough experience in one setting versus the other. But after working in my new job for the last 9 months now, I feel like I have a better understanding of both sides. One, I'm sorry, I sound so stuffy because my allergies are kicking up. And two, I wanted to put a disclaimer out there that this doesn't mean that I am covering every hospital setting and covering every clinic setting. You know, just as you can specialize in different clinics, you can also specialize in different areas in a hospital unit. But this is kind of the gist of differences between the two. I don't want to list these as pros and cons of each other because I feel like that's up to your judgment. But if you do want to hear my 2 cents on the pros and cons between hospital versus a clinic setting for me, feel free to stay till the end of this video. I feel like the biggest difference between the two that goes kind of without saying is the fact that clinics typically don't have night shifts at all. In a hospital, you work 3/12s or 4/12s, and it's typically a 9 to 5 schedule at a clinic, typically. And with that comes the flexibility when it comes to scheduling and trading days off for a hospital setting, because there are more days that you can kind of plan out to not want to work, and then the days that you need to get it switched, it's easier with people on your floor. Another thing is that you get time off on vacations for clinics, and if you work at the hospital and you work on a holiday, you get time and a half for those days. You don't work weekends on clinics, and you do have mandatory weekends for a hospital. And on top of that, you wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to work time and a half at a clinic versus at the hospital. You can pick up shifts. In a clinic setting, your team is smaller, so you're able to get to know your coworkers better and create a different kind of relationship versus the one in the hospital. You may work with the same people at the hospital, but for the most part, you're interchanging different coworkers every so often with your shifts, and your charge for the day is going to be different versus a charge nurse in a clinic setting is typically the same nurse that works with you. And then all in all, I feel like the biggest difference between the two would be the different skill sets you get to use. For the most part, you would use the same nursing judgment, therapeutic communication, relaying information between your coworkers and also your fellow nurses and your doctor using the same SBAR format, and also taking vital signs and doing EKG strip readings. But if you're working in an intramuscular clinic, for example, you wouldn't necessarily empty out a Foley catheter or need to be able to do that while you're working. Last but not least, in a clinic setting, there is an option for it being an appointment only, and there's no walk-ins. So the day before you come into your shift, you know what your schedule is going to look like. You don't really necessarily know that when you come into the hospital unless you work the night before, the day before, and you have the same set of patients. But even then, whatever happens to them changes overnight or changes during the day. You don't typically get that in a clinic setting. Now for me, I definitely feel like I enjoy working in the clinic versus the hospital. When I was working at the hospital, I thought I chose the complete wrong career choice and I went to school for nothing. But now I definitely feel better with what is going on with my life. Night shift for me was really difficult. I am a night owl, not a morning person, but that doesn't necessarily correlate with the fact that I'm able to handle a night shift schedule. So that was really difficult for me, and I am so thankful that I don't have to do that in a clinic in the place that I work at now. It's overall been a more healthy job setting for me. I don't feel as stressed anymore. I'm not taking work home with me. I leave work where work is and I come home and I get to enjoy time with my partner and my 2 dogs. So it's been a big life changer. Now I can see how a hospital setting would work better for some families versus a clinic setting because you get to choose what days you get off for the most part. I definitely miss doing a lot of skills when I switched over to the clinic I'm working at now, just because, like I said, I'm not emptying out a Foley catheter or trying to drain a urostomy bag or doing wound care on somebody or doing ostomy care on somebody. You know, there's a lot of skills that I miss, and having the adrenaline of a patient rolling in and figuring out what to do with them, I do miss that aspect of it, but I wouldn't probably go back to it because it was very mentally and emotionally damaging. I also want to address a big misconception that I personally had going into a 3-12 setting versus a 8-5. I was under the impression that I wouldn't be able to create a good enough relationship with my patients just because I would only have maybe 5 to 15 minutes with each patient in a clinic setting before they get pulled back, and then that was basically going to be the end of that patient to nurse relationship, but that's totally not true. Depending on which clinic you work at, we definitely have patients come back each week or every so often, and we have patients that have been seeing us for years. So I wanted to debunk that thought process, because you can create relationships with your patients even though you're not with them all 3 days of your shift. Thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you guys found this video informative. Hopefully I don't think I covered everything. I'm sure there's a lot more differences out there, and I feel free to comment below what other differences that you guys have noticed, or what you guys think about working between a hospital clinic versus, or a hospital setting versus a clinic setting, if you guys have done so, and what you guys like better from it. I would love to hear you guys' stories. Hopefully my next video is not going to take as long to come out, but I think I'm finally getting my creative juices flowing, and I'm more into I have gotten more into the flow of how my day-to-day goes. Thank you guys for watching again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.